Daniel shivered. The old manor house was freezing. Dust motes danced in the weak rays of sunlight filtering through grimy windows. He wandered through echoing corridors, his footsteps the only sound. The house had belonged to his great-aunt, a recluse who had passed away recently. Daniel had inherited everything. The solicitor had warned him about the house, about the strange stories surrounding it. Daniel, ever the pragmatist, had scoffed. Now, surrounded by the oppressive silence of the manor, he wasn't so sure. He pushed open a heavy oak door, revealing a dusty old room. Moonlight illuminated a large, ornately framed mirror at the far end. He approached the mirror, drawn by an inexplicable pull. The silver backing was worn, the glass cloudy with age. As he peered into its depths, he could have sworn he saw a fleeting image, a flicker of movement in the reflection. He blinked, and it was gone. He shook his head, attributing it to his imagination and the play of light and shadows. That night, Daniel struggled to sleep. The silence of the manor was broken only by the creaking of the old house settling around him. Every shadow seemed to writhe, every creak of the floorboard a footstep. He tossed and turned, his mind replaying the fleeting image he'd seen in the mirror. He decided to investigate. He crept down the hallway, each step echoing unnervingly in the stillness. The moonlight was stronger now, bathing the room with the mirror in an ethereal glow. As he got closer, he noticed something strange. There was a faint light emanating from the mirror, a soft, pulsating glow. He cautiously approached the mirror, his heart pounding in his chest. As he got closer, the light grew stronger and the air grew colder. He could feel a presence, something cold and unseen, watching him from the other side of the glass. He reached out a hand, his fingers trembling slightly, and touched the cold surface of the mirror. The moment his fingers made contact, the mirror flared brightly. Daniel stumbled back, shielding his eyes from the unexpected light. When he opened them again, he was no longer looking at his reflection. The mirror was now a swirling vortex of mist and shadows. Whispers seemed to emanate from its depths, faint and indistinct, yet filled with a palpable sense of dread. He tried to pull his hand away, but it was as if an unseen force held him fast. He pulled harder, panic rising in his chest. The whispers grew louder, coalescing into words he could almost understand. They spoke of betrayal, of a love gone wrong, of a vengeful spirit trapped within the mirror's depths. Suddenly, the mirror went dark. Daniel found himself sprawled on the floor, his heart racing. The room was silent again, the only sound his own ragged breathing. He scrambled to his feet, backing away from the mirror as if it were a venomous snake. He had to get out of this house, away from the mirror and whatever it held captive. The following days were a blur of fear and paranoia. Daniel couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, the sensation of cold eyes boring into his back. Sleep offered no escape, his nights plagued by vivid nightmares of the mirror and the whispers that seemed to follow him even in his dreams. He tried to avoid the room with the mirror, but he felt an inexplicable pull towards it, as if the mirror itself was beckoning him. One evening, unable to resist the lure any longer, he found himself standing before the mirror once more. The glass seemed clearer now, the silver backing less tarnished. He could have sworn he saw a figure standing behind him in the reflection, a shadowy silhouette with eyes that glowed with an eerie inner light. He whirled around, but there was no one there. He was alone in the room, with only the silence and the ever-watching gaze of the mirror for company. He realized then that he wasn't going to escape the mirror's clutches so easily. It had chosen him, and it wasn't finished with him yet. As days turned into weeks, the strange occurrences intensified. Objects moved on their own, whispers followed him from room to room. The temperature in the house fluctuated wildly, icy drafts swirling around him even on the warmest of days. He felt a constant presence, cold and malevolent, always lurking just beyond the edge of his perception. One night, he awoke to the sound of his name being whispered. He sat up in bed, his heart pounding. The room was dark, but he could sense something moving in the shadows. He fumbled for the bedside lamp, his hand trembling as he flicked it on. The shadows recoiled, but not before he saw them, swirling tendrils of darkness that seemed to emanate from the mirror in the corner of his room. He wasn't imagining it. The mirror was no longer just a portal to another realm. It was a gateway through which something was trying to enter his world. He had to find a way to stop it, before it was too late. Desperate for answers, Daniel delved into his great-aunt's belongings. He found old journals filled with ramblings about the mirror and its sinister history. She had been researching the mirror, trying to uncover its secrets, but her entries abruptly ended, leaving him with more questions than answers. One entry, however, sent a chill down his spine. It spoke of a ritual, a way to communicate with the entity trapped within the mirror. He knew it was a dangerous gamble, but he was out of options. He had to know what he was dealing with, even if it meant confronting the darkness head-on. He followed the instructions in the journal, his hands shaking as he lit candles and arranged objects around the mirror. As he uttered the final words of the incantation, the mirror pulsed with a blinding light. He closed his eyes against the glare, and when he opened them again, he was staring into a different room. It was a reflection of his own room, but distorted, twisted, as if seen through a funhouse mirror. In the center of the room stood a figure, shrouded in shadows, its eyes burning like hot coals. Section 7. The Unveiling. The figure spoke, its voice a raspy whisper that seemed to claw at the edges of his sanity. It told him a tale of betrayal and murder, of a love triangle gone horribly wrong. The figure was the spirit of a man who had been betrayed by his lover and his best friend. He had been murdered, and his body hidden within the walls of the manor. His spirit, unable to find peace, had become trapped within the mirror, consumed by rage and a thirst for revenge. Daniel listened, his blood running cold. The spirit's anger was palpable, radiating out from the mirror like a physical force. He knew then that he wasn't just dealing with a ghost. He was dealing with something far older, far more powerful, and far more dangerous. The spirit offered Daniel a deal: help him get his revenge, and he would be free from the mirror's curse. Refuse, and suffer the same fate as the spirit's betrayers. Daniel was caught in a terrifying dilemma, forced to choose between his own survival and unleashing a vengeful spirit upon the world. Section 8. A Pact with Darkness. Daniel hesitated, torn between his fear and his conscience. He couldn't condone murder, even for a spirit seeking retribution, but the spirit's power was undeniable, and the threat to his own life very real. He knew that if he refused, the spirit would find a way to escape, even if it meant destroying him in the process. In the end, fear won out. He agreed to help the spirit, hoping to find a way to appease its rage without resorting to further violence. The spirit, sensing his reluctance, gave him a chilling smile. It warned him that their pact was binding, sealed in blood and darkness. There would be no going back. As Daniel reached out to shake the spirit's hand, he felt a searing pain in his palm. He looked down to see a single drop of blood welling up from a small cut, as if made by an invisible blade. The blood dripped onto the surface of the mirror, and the reflection rippled, the spirit's triumphant laughter echoing in his ears. Section 9. The Mirror's Truth. Daniel spent the next few days researching the history of the manor. He uncovered old newspaper articles detailing a scandalous murder that had rocked the small town decades earlier. A wealthy landowner and his mistress had been found dead in the manor, the prime suspect their jealous best friend. But no evidence was ever found, and the case went cold. Now, as Daniel pieced together the fragments of the past, he realized the truth. The spirit in the mirror wasn't the betrayed lover. It was the jealous friend, the true murderer. He had framed the landowner for his own crime, his spirit forever bound to the mirror, a silent witness to his own deception. The spirit had manipulated him, playing on his fear to get what it truly desired. Not revenge, but to keep its secret buried forever. Daniel had been a pawn in its twisted game, and now he was bound to the spirit's fate, his own soul tethered to the mirror's darkness. Section 10. Forever Bound. Realizing the truth, Daniel tried to break the pact. He tried to destroy the mirror, but it was indestructible. He tried to sever the connection, but the pain was unbearable. He was trapped, his fate intertwined with that of the malevolent spirit. He was forced to watch as the spirit, using him as a conduit, spread its darkness into the world. Whispers became screams, shadows transformed into tangible horrors. The manor, once a place of quiet dread, became a beacon of malevolence, its very walls resonating with the spirit's evil. Daniel's reflection in the mirror slowly faded, replaced by the spirit's triumphant smirk. He was no longer a prisoner of the mirror. He was the mirror, his soul consumed by the darkness, his fate sealed forever. The manor stood silent, a chilling monument to a pact made with darkness, a haunted mirror reflecting not vanity, but the monstrous truth that lay hidden beneath the surface.